Hey everyone, today I want to bring you a new type of video for me. I want to start doing these more regularly. We're going to play some games with a specific deck, but before we play those games, I'm going to talk to you about that deck and really try to teach you why the deck is strong. If you're a new player, this type of information is going to be valuable to you. So let's jump in first with Pikachu, because it's probably the most popular deck right now, and I think a lot of people are going to want to understand what exactly makes it so strong. There's actually a few different ways to build Pikachu. Some people try to splash in the Pikachu Raichu Lieutenant Surge combo, and usually they run Magneton in that version. I personally don't like this version because I feel like the combo to set up for the Raichu kill is just worse than the strict aggro you get from Pikachu EX. So personally, I wouldn't recommend you play that version, but that version is out there for you if that's what you're interested in. The Substriker version runs 2 Substriker, and the idea is that you're able to ping things on the bench, which is a useful piece of tech, which is worth keeping in mind. I guess I wouldn't really consider this like a different version of the deck and more like tech that you can include in certain metagames. I will say in the vast majority of metagames, this isn't going to be worth going for, but if, say, there's a metagame in the future that heavily encourages putting things on the bench, say, you might be able to punish something like a Moltres deck that has like a Charmander on the bench, you use a Substriker, you hit Thunder Spear on it twice, that kills off, say, the Charmander, and then now they have to find another Charmander to set up their combo, and on top of that, Substriker survives the hit from Heat Blast. These are real thing, but this is really a meta call. I think the best Pikachu deck in a vacuum is this one that we'll be playing today. Let's go over each of these cards in the deck list and talk about what makes them good and what makes us want to run them. So the first thing we'll evaluate is our Electrode. Electrode's a really strong card for a variety of reasons. Firstly, a 2-cost 70 damage attack is pretty good. Like, even outside of the other pieces of utility that Electrode provides, it's just a good amount of damage. Compare it to say Circle Circuit from Pikachu. Circle Circuit with 2 Pokemon on the bench is doing less damage than Electrode, and Electrode's only doing 20 less damage than a fully juiced up Pikachu with 3 Pokemon on the bench. So the damage is pretty impressive. On top of that, Electrode has a 0-cost retreat, which is really the big reason we want to play Electrode. Leading with Voltorb is often a good thing to do, because once we have Voltorb in the active, we can immediately start attacking for 1 if we want to, say, we have a type advantage, so tackle's dealing 40 or something like that, we might want to do that. But also we can just evolve Electrode and then use the free retreat to get him out of the active. Or if we don't draw Electrode, we can use X-Speed to get Voltorb out of the active if, say, we've charged up something like a Pikachu or Zapdos, which are other cards in our deck that we'll talk about here in a second. Basically, whenever Voltorb is in the active, there are 4 cards we can draw from our deck to get him out of the active for free. You can draw one of the 2 X-Speeds, or you can draw one of the 2 Electrodes. Next up, of course, is Pikachu EX, which is our main win condition. It's 2-cost up to 90 damage attack, which is really strong and aggressive. This is very much the card we're building our entire deck around. Zapdos EX is just a big body lightning Pokemon that makes sense for us to combo with Pikachu because it's another EX Pokemon. If they have to kill a Pikachu and a Zapdos, they're working through 4 victory points as opposed to 2 victory points. Zapdos, in theory, can do up to 200 damage, which is one-shotting everything in the game. Has a 1-cost attack, so it can immediately start swinging. It's just a really good card, and it's really flexible in this deck as well. The 1-cost retreat allows it to get in and out of the active relatively easy. And our very last Pokemon we're going to go over is the 1 Pinkerton. I like running 1 extra lightning body just to increase the chances of us having enough lightning bodies for Pikachu. I don't think we need an additional lightning body. I think the 1 Pinkerton is fine. Every other lightning Pokemon we want to run in this slot is probably worse than Pikachu. The best next Pokemon I think would probably be Electabuzz, but basically we're looking for a basic Pokemon that doesn't need to evolve, so that eliminates things like Substriker, unless of course the meta really calls for us to want Substriker in our deck, then we would remove the Pinkerton and do that. And even Baby Zapdos are all significantly worse than running the Pinkerton in my opinion. The one thing that's nice about the Pinkerton is you can throw him in the active slot and you can have him fight anything. If he fights a Mewtwo, there's just a chance that the Pinkerton wins sometimes. Obviously, it won't happen very often, but it can. And the fact that you have the ability to come back in a scenario that would otherwise be unwinnable just because of Pinkerton's Paralyze feels really good. X-Speed is really good in this deck because every single card in our deck has a 1-cost or less retreat, so X-Speed is essentially saying retreat a Pokemon for free, which can feel really good, especially in this type of aggressive deck. Pokeball is a fantastic card. You're going to see this in almost every Pokemon Pocket deck, but it's especially good in this deck because it can help us find our main win condition, which is Pikachu EX, or even Zapdos EX, which is a good alternate win condition. But in addition to that, unlike with other decks, even if we already have our main win condition, which is our Pikachu EX, Pokeball helps contribute to meeting the condition that we need to meet for our Pikachu EX to deal the most amount of damage possible. Red card is just a tech card. You probably don't need red card in most decks. In fact, if you're trying to find room for the Zeb Striker, red card's probably the first card that you cut, but it is a card that can win games from positions that would otherwise be unwinnable. I will say if you're a newer player, I would avoid using red card because I think you need to have a good amount of game knowledge to be able to effectively use red card. Professor's Research, of course, belongs in almost every deck. In fact, probably just every deck. Sabrina is a fantastic card both for finishing the game and then also it can be good for stalling in scenarios where your opponent's like a turn ahead of you. Sabrina can put them a turn behind. And then Giovanni is a great way of closing out the game as well, or just killing off a particular target that you wouldn't otherwise be able to kill off. There's a huge difference between 100 and 90 damage, so Pikachu being able to get that plus 10 can be like a huge difference maker. So that is our Pikachu list and the decisions we made building it. Primary reason Pikachu EX is so strong is that, mathematically speaking, he's just dealing a lot of damage in the early game. There are other cards that deal early damage, but Pikachu EX has a really positive matchup spread against the rest of the good decks in the game. Pikachu EX performs really well against, say, something like Mewtwo EX, but really a lot of aggressive decks are going to perform well against Mewtwo EX. It's just, that's what that deck kind of struggles against. Pikachu EX and really any Lightning deck has really positive matchup spreads, has a type advantage against the legendary birds, which all see a lot of play. They are all weak to Lightning, so they are weak to Pikachu, and all the other cards that we're running in the Pikachu deck. Starmie is another really popular card that has a bad matchup spread into Pikachu EX. All of the fire decks, whether it be Charizard or Arcanine or whatever, they're all obviously running Moltres. They struggle against Lightning. If I was trying to beat Pikachu EX, like, oh, I'm really annoyed about Pikachu EX, how am I supposed to beat Pikachu EX? I think Marowak is pretty good against Pikachu EX for a couple reasons. One is obviously Marowak has the ability to one-shot Pikachu, but also he keeps up with the speed of Pikachu. He survives the first Pikachu hit. He has the same number of attachments required for his attack. A lot of people run Dugtrio alongside Marowak, and Dugtrio is a really good answer to Pikachu EX. Even a Pikachu EX that has the attachments on it already, because you could go Dugtrio, you could swing, use Dig, and then you could land the coin flip. That's put Pikachu at 60 health, and it can't kill you in response. So I really like Dugtrio Marowak as like a deck in response to Pikachu EX. Some people have been trying out a version of the Charizard EX Moltres list, where instead of running Charizard, they're running Arcanine, because Arcanine's math is actually really good versus Pikachu as well. Arcanine one-shots Pikachu, it survives a Pikachu hit, and obviously it takes significantly less time to set up an Arcanine compared to, say, something like a Charizard. Additionally, I want to say I think Executor decks are pretty good responses to Pikachu, because Executor can start swinging for 1 energy. Pikachu can't one-shot an Executor. In fact, Pikachu can't really two-shot an Executor, because if you're running Executor, it's very likely you're running Double Potion, Double Erica, so you kind of have more health than 160. It might be the case that Pikachu has to swing upwards of 4 times to be able to kill you if you're running Executor. Don't get me wrong, pretty much every deck can beat Pikachu, but if you're trying to win the Pikachu matchup a higher number of times than you would be with other decks, I think those are worth keeping in mind. I do also want to say that Blaine decks can perform really well against Pikachu, because Ninetales plus Blaine is 120 damage, which is exactly how much damage you need to be able to kill off a Pikachu EX. So in conclusion, if you're trying to target Pikachu EX, I would recommend playing Marowak, Blaine, Executor, and perhaps Arcanine. I don't have a lot of experience playing the Arcanine version of the Moltres list, but I've heard it performs pretty well against Pikachu, and that wouldn't surprise me. So let's jump into some games and talk about our decisions we make throughout the match. I'm probably going to do a similar video to this with some other decks, so if you're interested in me kind of doing a deeper dive into some of the other meta decks, please let me know in the comments which one of those decks you want to see. Alright, we're going first, which isn't ideal for the deck. The deck wants to be going second most cases. Zapdos is a relatively good start, though. We would have loved Voltorb, because we already have the Electrode in hand, and then because we're going first, we would be able to evolve on our first turn of attaching energy. Ekans isn't the greatest for us. We can do some research here. Looks like an Ekans Arbok. What's the other card that they run? Wheezing deck, probably. If we had X-Speed, we might even have considered retreating there. Like, sure, we're only facing like 20 damage right now, but the next turn that'll be 50, and then we won't be able to retreat. It'll be a whole thing. Alright, he attaches the energy for Bite. He's gonna swing for 20 damage. No, we're going down to 110 health. It's kind of low. We found Zapdos number 2. I kind of like the idea of investing in Zapdos number 2 because we don't have Pikachu anyway, and this Zapdos is about to have some serious problems. I kind of like Sabrina here to prevent the Arbok play now, because we don't want him to be able to Arbok. And now, if he wants to Arbok, he won't have the energy to attack with Arbok, which, if he attacks with Arbok right now, he's basically guaranteed killed the Zapdos. Where this way, we're increasing our chances of being able to get Zapdos out of the active, because now if we draw, like, an X speed, we can get him out for free. He swings for his 20. We go down to 90. We don't draw X speed, which is kind of unfortunate, to be honest. Down Pikachu. Alright, unfortunately, we're gonna have to let Zapdos die. I don't see another way this goes. Our first Zapdos is just gonna die to an Ekans Arbok. Unless he doesn't have the Arbok, in which case we're fine. But he almost certainly has the Arbok based on the way that he's been playing this. Oh, he attaches to bench. Maybe he doesn't have the Arbok. Because attaching to bench here... Oh, wow, he doesn't have it. Okay, X-Speed would be a crazy draw. Okay, found Voltorb. This is why starting with Voltorb is so much better than, say, starting with Zapdos. But we didn't have Voltorb in hand at the time. I mean, he still can't kill us even with Arbok, right? So I'm just going to attach on the Zapdos. Maybe we find the X-Speed, maybe we don't. Maybe Zapdos just dies. Maybe he doesn't. No X-Speed is unfortunate, but opponent didn't draw Arbok, so neither of us got the card we needed. Arbok? Did he draw it? No research from opponent either? Whoa, what is going on from opponent's perspective? X-Speed draw? Okay, no X-Speed. I got a red card him, right? But he's so brick. Maybe I just wait. Alright, we'll attach Return on Zapdos just to retreat him so we can push in new Zapdos. And new Zapdos is going to hit him with the Thundering Hurricane. We just need 2 heads here. 1, 2. And he's out of there. See ya. Okay, it is a coughing, wheezing deck. That's fine. We can push Voltorb because we can just retreat it for free. Even against an Arbok, we can retreat it for free because we can evolve through the Arbok effect, but he doesn't even have the Arbok. Alright, we can evolve Electrode now. Use his retreat for free. We can start attaching on the second Zapdos in case we need it. My guess is we won't need second Zapdos this game. Thundering Hurricane. We just need 2. There's our 2. We'll take 4. You know, 200 damage is pretty good. Obviously, we only needed 2, but it's cool seeing the big number. Alright, this will be his wheezing now. So he'll swing for 30, he'll apply poison, we'll go down to a total of 80 health. But there's a chance we just kill with Giovanni right now. Maybe even without Giovanni. The Gas Leak applies the poison. We're gonna go down to what will be 90, but it's effectively gonna be 80. Wait, why did he Gas Leak and then Sabrina? We'll just give him the Electrode because we can retreat the Electrode for free. My poison has been cleansed. He tackles me for 30. Okay. We retreat. Push the Zapdos. Attach for turn on bench Zapdos. Giovanni. And then Thundering Hurricane needs to hit 2 heads. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 heads. It happens. Obviously, it doesn't feel good, but it happens. We have 2 Zapdos locked and loaded, so I don't think we're gonna have any trouble here. Even with, I mean, we'd have to get very unlucky to find, to lose this one, I think. 3 red cards. Doesn't really hurt us. Although, losing the Sabrina kind of sucks. We'd love to find the Sabrina again. Find our red card, or X-Speed. Giovanni. Giovanni's also good. Basically, Sabrina or Giovanni here is changing the number of heads we need. Well, I guess Sabrina isn't anymore because he played the wheezing. He goes for the Gas Leak. This time he probably won't Sabrina us. My guess is that was a misplay. Hits us for 30. We go down to 90, which is effectively 80 because we're going to take the poison damage. But hopefully this Giovanni is just enough. Now we only need 2 heads Giovanni, Thundering Hurricane, 2 heads is 110 damage, is exactly how much we need. 1, 2, 2 is all we needed. See ya, Weezing. And that's it. I mean, this is a good example game for what to do when you don't get your Pikachu EX and how you can kind of navigate that scenario. And it played out pretty well for us, so we'll take it. Alright, we've got Pikachu starting things off. I do prefer leading with the Voltorb here, because Voltorb can take any initial damage that our opponent's doing, say with something like a Kangaskhan or a Farfetch or something like that, that our Pikachu is no longer taking. And then we can just Electrode to get Pikachu into the active when we need to. So we're up against a Mewtwo player here. I'm thinking that we're going to be a bit too aggressive for this Mewtwo player, just based on our opening hand. We do need to find some basic Pokemon to put on a bench, though. Right now, Pikachu's only dealing 30 damage, which is a bit unacceptable. Need to get that damage number up. Ralts. In fact, if we don't find like a Pokeball or Professor's Oak or something like that, it might be best for us to commit the energy to Electrode instead of Pikachu. Okay, don't worry, we found Pikachu. Let's go ahead and play that Pikachu. I'm gonna put the energy on the Cinematic Pikachu here, and then we're going to pass. Our opponent does already have both Mewtwo's up. Hopefully they don't have the Curlier here, or else we're gonna be fighting against the clock. He has the second Ralts, which is annoying for stuff like Sabrina. He always has like the thing that he can pivot into. Alright, we have all of our lightning bodies, which is fantastic. We can play the Voltorb, attach the energy on Pikachu. This is a much more standard Pikachu EX game. We can evolve our Voltorb with our Electrode, and then use our free retreat to push our Pikachu EX, and swing for 90 damage. Our opponent attaches energy on the benched Mewtwo, because they realize that this Mewtwo is dead. Oh, he X-speeds away the Mewtwo. Interesting. What's he gonna do? Push Ralts? Whoa, that's kind of cool. Is he gonna evolve the other Ralts? I like this line that the opponent's going for. It's his best option, probably. Potions, the benched Mewtwo. I don't think that was worth it, but he might just try to be getting the dead card out of his hand just in case I have something like a red card. Ooh, we have the second X speed. We're just gonna put more energy on another Pikachu and start swinging with Circle Circuit. Now the opponent's in a really awkward position. They have to either push a Mewtwo, or they have to push a Ralts, which, if Ralts dies, this is the end of the line for opponent. So he's gonna push the Mewtwo. The funny thing is, even if he had the Curlier, he couldn't develop the Curlier to protect the Ralts, because Curlier dies to the Pikachu hit, because Pikachu's just dealing so much damage. Giovanni's gonna swing for 60, which is a good response from opponent. It's like his best line, putting us at just 60 health. Sabrina here is lethal, so we're just gonna play... Well, it's effectively lethal, right? Ooh, actually, I don't even know if it's correct. The thing is, if we Sabrina and he pushes Ralts, he has the time to juice up this Mewtwo. Oh wait, no he doesn't. He doesn't. If we Sabrina real quick... It's fine, it's fine. If we Sabrina, he has to push Ralts, right? He can't push Mewtwo. And the opponent's just going to concede, okay. What I was going to suggest there is we could have used the X speed to get the active Pikachu EX out of the active spot and then push the one on the bench and attack. That way we had a healthy Pikachu EX in the active so that we could survive, say, another Giovanni plus the Psychic Sphere, but none of that ended up mattering. We were completely fine. Pikachu EX decks have actually changed so much since the original beta, like back, well, I say beta, but it was really a soft launch in New Zealand. Originally, the thought process was you want to run a lot of lightning bodies, and you do run a lot of lightning bodies, especially compared to, like, say, other optimized meta deck lists. You run a lot of Pokemon, but it's still like a decently small number of Pokemon in the optimized Pikachu EX list, and it's really just because Zapdos is a strong enough pivot for the scenarios where your Pikachu doesn't get enough lightning bodies, and sometimes 60 damage is just enough. Sometimes you don't need all 3 benched Pokemon. I mean, in most cases, you're going to get it, and in most cases, it's going to be really impactful, but you'd be surprised just how few lightning bodies you can get away with. Some people are running bloat in their deck that is otherwise not very strong just to get more lightning bodies, but I don't think it's worth it. I think you just want high quality Pokemon, and that's how we end up at this deck list that you're seeing on your screen now. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the games, and let me know if there's any deck you want me to cover in particular in the next full, in-depth guide to a Pokemon Pocket deck. Thank you so much for watching, keep being awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.